Hi, my name is Shinko. Welcome to my channel. We've been attempting to escape reality in the horrors of real life with the Warriors, Fire and Ice. It's the second book in the series. If you're new and you're interested, you could check out my previous videos. I've read the first book already. It's essentially about cats. There is life and death. Characters come and go, so if you cannot handle essentially character death, then probably don't read the series. It took a few days for me to get this out to you guys. I was struggling with, we're at the end. We're at the very end of the book. And this is going to be a long video. I am finishing the book. I'm finishing the second book in this video. It's going to be long. And then I'm going to have my questions and stuff and my thoughts after. So we left off with Broken Star just tried to invade ThunderClan and gravely injure them. He's now no longer Broken Star, he's Broken Tail. He's lost his clan title, his clan leader title. And it's been decided that he will be kept prisoner and not be left out in the forest or killed in cold blood. So let's get back to it. Fireheart limped over to the clump of nettles and began to lick his wounds. He would go and see Yellowfang later, when she had finished tending to the other cats. The weak rays of the setting sun threw long shadows across the clearing. Dustpaw had been relieved from his guard duty by Longtail. Tigerclaw had taken the rest of his unscathed raiding party out in search of fresh kill. Fireheart's stomach growled. He looked up at the sound of paw steps, but it was only Sandpaw and Swiftpaw returning from their burial duty. The two cats padded over to Bluestar, who was sitting beneath the high rock with Whitestorm. Fireheart pushed himself to his paws and walked over to join them. With a flick of his tail, he beckoned to Dustpaw, who was licking his own scratches beside the tree stump. Dustpaw flashed him a doubtful look, but got up wearily and followed him. "We've buried Clawface," meowed Sandpaw. "Thank you," Bluestar replied. The ThunderClan leader looked directly at Swiftpaw. "You may go." The black and white apprentice dipped his head and headed for his den. Fireheart signaled to Dustpaw again to come closer. The tabby apprentice narrowed his eyes and padded forward to stand beside Sandpaw. "Bluestar," Fireheart began hesitantly. "Sandpaw and Dustpaw fought like warriors when Broken Tail attacked. We would have been in much more trouble without their strength and their courage." Dustpaw's eyes widened, and Sandpaw looked at the ground as Fireheart spoke. A purr rumbled from Whitestorm's throat. "It's not like you to be this shy," he meowed to his apprentice. Sandpaw's ears twitched uncomfortably. "Fireheart's the one who saves the clan," she burst out. "He was the one who alerted the camp so that we were ready for Broken Tail's attack." It was Fireheart's turn to feel embarrassed. He was relieved when Tigerclaw and the hunting party trotted into the camp at that moment, carrying plenty of fresh kill. Bluestar nodded at Tigerclaw and then turned to face Dustpaw and Sandpaw. "It makes me proud to know that ThunderClan has such fine warriors," she meowed. "It's time for you both to take your warrior names. We shall have the naming ceremony now while the sun is setting, and then we can eat." Sandpaw and Dustpaw looked excitedly at each other. Fireheart lifted his chin and purred. Bluestar called to the clan, and Fireheart felt even happier when he saw Graystripe appear from the warrior's den. He hadn't left the camp after all. The clan gathered around the edge of the clearing. Elders and queens sat with the apprentices and kits on one side. Fireheart waited with the warriors on the other. Excuse me. He looked at Cloud Kit, nestled beside Brindleface. The kit's eyes shone with excitement, and Fireheart felt a rush of pride. that his kin Kit could see him sitting with the clan warriors. Bluestar stood in the center with Sandpaw and Dustpaw. The last arc of sun glowed pink on the horizon. The clan waited silently as it dipped out of sight, leaving the darkening sky pricked with stars. Bluestar looked up and fixed her eyes on the brightest star in Silverpelt. I, Bluestar, leader of ThunderClan, call upon my warrior ancestors to look down on these two apprentices. They have trained hard to understand the ways of your code, and I commend them to you as warriors in their turn. She gazed down at the pair of young cats in front of her. Sandpaw, Dustpaw, do you promise to uphold the warrior code and to protect and defend this clan, even at the cost of your own life? Sandpaw stared back, her eyes gleaming. I do, she replied. Dustpaw echoed her words, his voice strong and low. I do. Then by the powers of StarClan, I give you your warrior names. Sandpaw, from this moment on, you will be known as Sandstorm. StarClan honors your courage and your spirit. We welcome you as a full warrior of ThunderClan. Bluestar stepped forward and rested her muzzle on top of Sandstorm's bowed head. Sandstorm licked Bluestar's shoulder respectfully before she turned and walked towards Whitestorm. Fireheart saw her eyes flash proudly at her mentor as she settled down beside him in her new place with the warriors. Bluestar turned her eyes to the dark brown tabby. Dustpaw, from this moment on, you will be known as Dust Pelt. StarClan honors your bravery and your honesty. We welcome you as a full warrior of ThunderClan. She touched his head with her muzzle, and he too gave the leader's shoulder a respectful lick before joining the other warriors. The voices of the clan rose in tribute, sending clouds of misty breath into the night air. As one, they chanted the new warrior names. Sandstorm, Dustpout! Sandstorm, Dustpout! In the tradition of our ancestors, meowed Bluestar, raising her voice, Sandstorm and Dustpout must sit in silent vigil until dawn. Guard the camp alone while we sleep, but before they begin their vigil, the clan will share a meal. It has been a long day, and we have reason to be proud of these cats who defended our camp against the rogues. Fireheart, StarClan thanks you for your courage. You are a great warrior, and I'm proud to count you as a member of my clan. The cats meowed again. A purr burst from Fireheart's throat as he looked around at his clan. Only Tigerclaw and Dustpelt eyed him with hostility, but for once he felt untouched by their jealousy. Bluestar had praised him, and that was enough. One by one, the cats stepped forward to take some of the fresh kill Tigerclaw's party had brought. Fireheart walked over to Sandstorm. We can eat together as warriors tonight, he meowed happily. If that's okay with you, he added. Sandstorm purred at him, and Fireheart felt a prickle of pleasure. Choose something for me, she called as Fireheart dashed away to the pile of fresh kill. I'm starving! Fireheart picked out a mouse for Sandpaw, temptingly plump for so late in Leaf Bear. He took a blue tit for himself and turned to carry his catch back to Sandstorm. Then his heart sank. Dustpelt, Whitestorm, and Darkstripe had joined her. He'd been foolish to expect they would share their meal alone. This was a time for the whole clan to share together in celebration. The thought reminded Fireheart of Cinderpaw. He looked around and realized that he hadn't seen her at the naming ceremony. She must be in Yellowfang's clearing. He bounded over to Sandstorm, dropped the fresh kill beside her. I'll be back in 5 rabbit hops, he meowed. I want to take something to Cinderpaw. Sure, Sandstorm shrugged. Fireheart quickly collected a bowl from the fresh kill pile and carried it across the clearing. He was surprised to see Yellowfang sitting in her den. She'd been at the naming ceremony, so she must have come straight back afterward. "I hope that's not for me," she growled as Fireheart approached. "I've already had my share." Fireheart dropped the bowl on the ground. "I brought it for Cinderpaw," he answered. "I thought she might want something. She wasn't at the naming ceremony." "I've given her some mouse meat, but you're welcome to give her that as well." Fireheart looked around the fern-shaded clearing. Broken Star's brown fur was just visible through the stems of Patchpelt's old nest. The warrior was not moving. "He's still asleep." Yellowfang's tone was brisk, the voice of a medicine cat rather than a mother. Fireheart couldn't help feeling relieved. He wanted to believe Yellowfang's loyalty still lay with ThunderClan. He picked up the bowl and carried it to Cinderpaw's nest. "Hey, Cinderpaw," he meowed softly into the bracken. The gray cat stirred and pushed herself to a sitting position. "Fireheart." Fireheart stepped through the fronds and sat in the small space beside her. He dropped the bowl at her paws. "Here," he meowed. "Yellowfang's not the only one trying to fatten you up." "Thanks," Cinderpaw meowed, but she left the bowl lying beside her paw and didn't even bend down to sniff it. "Are you still thinking about the battle?" Fireheart asked gently. Cinderpaw shrugged. "I am just a burden, aren't I?" She looked up at Fireheart with sad, round eyes. "Who's a burden?" Yellowfang's growl interrupted them as the old gray medicine cat poked her head into the nest. "Are you upsetting my helper?" She meowed at Fireheart. "I don't know how I would have cooked today if it hadn't been for this one." She looked warmly at Cinderpaw, her yellow eyes soft. "I even had her mixing herbs this evening." Cinderpaw looked down shyly and dipped her head to take a bite of the bowl. "I think I might keep her with me a while longer," Yellowfang went on. "She's becoming more useful every day. Besides, I'm getting used to her company." Cinderpaw glanced up at the old medicine cat, a teasing glint in her eyes. "Only because you're deaf enough to put up with my chattering." Yellowfang pretended to spit crossly at the young cat, and Cinderpaw added to Fireheart, "Well, that's what she keeps telling me anyway." Fireheart was surprised to feel a pang of envy at the close bond these two cats had developed. He'd always thought of himself as Yellowfang's only real friend in the clan, but now it looked like she had another. But at least Cinderpaw had somewhere to stay. If she couldn't train to be a warrior, she'd feel out of place in the apprentice's den. Fireheart stood up. It was time he went back to Sandstorm. "Will you be okay here with Broken Tail?" he asked. Yellowfang gave him a disdainful look. "I think we can manage, don't you, Cinderpaw?" "He won't dare cause trouble," she agreed confidently. "And Longtail's here to help." Yellowfang ducked her head out of the nest, and Fireheart squeezed out after her. "Bye, Cinderpaw," he called. "Bye, and thanks for the food." "No problem," he meowed. He turned to Yellowfang. "Have you got anything for this bite on my neck?" Yellowfang looked closely at his wound. "Looks like a nasty one," she growled. "It's from Broken Tail," Fireheart confessed. Yellowfang nodded. "Wait there." She padded quickly to her den and returned with a bundle of herbs wrapped in leaves. "Can you manage them yourself? Just chew them up and rub the juice into the wounds. It'll sting, but nothing a brave warrior can't handle." "Thanks, Yellowfang." Fireheart picked up the bundle in his teeth. Yellowfang led him to the tunnel entrance. "I appreciate your coming," she meowed, glancing at Cinderpaw's nest. She was feeling pretty low, I think. She felt bad after the battle and then the naming ceremony. Fireheart nodded. He understood. He gave a last weary glance at where Broken Tail lay. "You sure you'll be safe?" he asked again through the bundle of herbs. "He's blind," meowed Yellow Fang. She sighed and then added more brightly, "And I'm not that old." Fireheart woke the following morning to find dazzling white light streaming through the den wall. He guessed it had snowed again. At least his wounds had stopped aching. Yellow Fang had been right. The herb juice had stung. But he felt much better after a good night's sleep. Fireheart wondered how Sandstorm and Dustpelt had managed their vigil. It must have been bitterly cold in the snow. He got to his paws and stretched his forelegs, arching his back and curling his tail up over his head. ThunderClan's 2 newest warriors were bundled up, fast asleep on the far edge of the den. Whitestorm must have sent them in when he left on the dawn patrol. Fireheart padded out into the snow-covered clearing. He could just make out Frostfur's white pelt skirting the nursery as she slipped out to stretch her legs. There were 2 bare spots in the center of the clearing where Sandstorm and Dustpelt had spent the night. Fireheart shivered at the thought, but still he envied them as he remembered the thrill of his first night as a warrior. It had filled him with a warmth not even the hardest frost could have chilled. The sky was thick with snow-heavy clouds. Flakes were still falling, softly and silently. There would be plenty of hunting to do today, Fireheart realized. The clan would need to stock up if the snow was going to get deeper. He heard Bluestar call from the high rock. The clan cats began to creep from their dens and pick their way through the snow to hear their leader's words. Fireheart settled himself into one of the bare spots. It smelled of Sandstorm. He noticed Graystripe sitting on the other side of the clearing, looking tired. Fireheart wondered if he slipped out last night to tell Silverstream about the rogue cats. Bluestar began to speak. "I wanted to make sure you all know that Broken Tail is in the camp." None of the cats uttered a noise. They knew already. The rumor had spread through the camp like a forest fire. "He is blind and harmless." A few cats snorted their displeasure, and Bluestar nodded to acknowledge their fears. "I am as concerned as you are for the safety of our clan, but StarClan knows we cannot turn him out to die in the forest. Yellowfang will nurse him until his wounds heal. Once they have, we'll discuss this again." Bluestar looked around, listening for voices from the crowd, but no cat spoke. So she leaped down from High Rock. As the cats dispersed, Fireheart noticed that the leader was walking towards him. "Fireheart," she meowed, "one thing concerns me. You still haven't settled things with Graystripe. I've not seen you eat together for days. I told you before there's no room for fighting within ThunderClan. I want you to hunt together today." Fireheart nodded. "Yes, Bluestar." That was fine by him, and after yesterday's battle, he felt hopeful that Graystripe would like the idea too. As Bluestar walked away, Fireheart scanned the clearing, hoping that Graystripe hadn't disappeared again. No, there he was, helping to clear the snow from the nursery entrance. "Hey, Graystripe!" Fireheart called out. Graystripe carried on with his work. Fireheart bounded over to him. "Do you want to go hunting this morning?" Graystripe turned to face him, his eyes cold. "Are you making sure I don't disappear again?" he snarled. Fireheart was startled. "No, I just thought, after yesterday, Clawface, I would have done the same for any ThunderClan cat. That's what clan loyalty is about." Graystripe's meow was harsh with anger as he went back to pushing snow. Fireheart's hopes plummeted. Had he lost his friend's trust forever? He turned away, tail down, and began to trudge through the snow towards the camp entrance. He called over his shoulder. "Bluestar told me to go hunting with you this morning. Actually, so you could explain to her why you're not coming." "Oh, I see. You were just trying to please Bluestar, as usual," Graystripe hissed. Fireheart stopped and whipped around, ready to throw back a retort, But he paused when he saw that Graystripe was crossing the clearing towards him, shaking snowflakes from his wide shoulders. "Come on, then," Graystripe growled, leading the way through the gorse tunnel. It was a slow climb out of the ravine with the boulders covered in snow. When they reached the top, the icebound forest stretched before them. Graystripe charged away at once, his face set with grim determination. Fireheart followed him. As he tracked a mouse around the roots of an oak tree, he saw Graystripe racing after a rabbit that had been foolish enough to stray from its burrow. Graystripe pelted furiously after the creature until he finished it off with a well-aimed pounce. Fireheart sat and watched as Graystripe padded back to him and dropped the rabbit at Fireheart's paws. "That should feed a kit or two," he grunted. "You don't have to prove anything to me," Fireheart told him. "No," Graystripe answered bitterly. His eyes met Fireheart's, cold and angry. "Maybe you should start acting as if you trusted me then." He turned away before Fireheart could reply. By sun-high, Graystripe had caught more than Fireheart, but both cats had done well. They returned to the camp, their jaws heavy with fresh kill. They padded into the clearing and dropped their prey in the usual place. The spot had been empty so far. Fireheart wondered if they should go out again. The snow was heavier now, and a cold wind was beginning to blow through the ravine. Fireheart was studying the darkening sky when he heard Brindleface's worried mew near the nursery. He bounded over to see what was wrong. "What's the matter?" "Have you seen Cloud, Kit?" she demanded. Fireheart shook his head. "Is he missing?" His paws prickled as Brindleface's rising panic began to infect him. "Yes, so are my other kits. I only closed my eyes for a moment. I just woke up and I can't find them anywhere. It's too cold for them to be out. They'll freeze to death." The queen swayed on her paws. Alarm shot through Fireheart as he pictured the last time a young cat had disappeared from the camp. It had been Cinderpaw. Chapter 28. "I'll find them," Fireheart promised. He automatically looked around for Graystripe. The wind was rising and the snow was growing thicker. He didn't want to search alone. Fireheart rushed to the warrior's den and pushed his way inside, but Graystripe wasn't there. Sandstorm was just waking up. "What's wrong?" she meowed, seeing Fireheart peering around the den. "Brindleface's kits are missing." "Cloud Kit too?" Sandstorm scrambled to her paws, instantly awake. "Yes, I was looking for Graystripe so we could look for them together, but he isn't here." Fireheart meowed, his words tumbling out in a rush. He felt a stab of rage that Graystripe was missing, yet again, right after accusing Fireheart of not trusting him. "I'll come with you," Sandstorm offered. Fireheart blinked. "Thanks," he meowed gratefully. "Come on, we should tell Blue Star before we leave." "Dustpelt can tell her. Is it still snowing?" "Yes, it is getting heavier. We better hurry." Fireheart looked at Dustpelt's sleeping form. "You waken. I'll tell Brindleface we're going to meet you by the entrance." He bounded away, back to the nursery. Brindleface was still sniffing around in search of scents. "Any sign?" Fireheart asked. "No, nothing." Brindleface's voice was trembling. "Frostfur's gone to tell Blue Star." "Don't worry. I'm going out to look for them," he reassured her. "Sandstorm is coming with me. We'll find them." Brindleface nodded and carried on searching. Fireheart and Sandstorm arrived at the gorse tunnel together and hurried out into the woods. Outside the camp, the wind felt even fiercer. Fireheart narrowed his eyes and hunched his shoulders against the blizzard. "It's going to be hard picking up a scent through this fresh snow," he warned. "Let's start by checking to see if they've climbed up into the forest." "Okay," meowed Sandstorm. "You take that side." Fireheart pointed with his nose. "I'll take the other. Meet you back here. Don't be long." Sandstorm bounded away, and Fireheart leaped over a fallen tree, heading towards the trail the clan followed most often. The sides of the ravine were even more thickly coated than they had been that morning, and slippery now, where the snow had frozen into ice. Fireheart stopped and lifted his head, his mouth open. but he could find no scent of the kits. He looked in vain for paw steps. Would their trail actually already be covered by fresh snow? He trekked along the bottom of the slope, but found no sign of any cat, let alone lost kits. The wind blew until Fireheart could hardly feel the tips of his ears. No kits could survive in this weather, and it wouldn't be long before the sun began to set. He had to find them before nightfall. Fireheart raced back to the camp entrance. Sandstorm was waiting for him, her fur stripped with small ridges of snow. She shook them off as she saw him coming. "Any sign?" Fireheart meowed. "No, nothing." "They couldn't have gone far," Fireheart pointed out. "Come on, let's try this way." He headed towards the training hollow. Sandstorm batted after him. The snow was getting deeper, and she sank up to her belly with every step. The training hollow was empty. "Do you think Blue Star realizes how bad the weather is out here?" asked Sandstorm, raising her voice against the wind. "She'll know," Fireheart called back to her. "We should go back and get help. Join up with another search party," meowed Sandstorm. Fireheart looked at the shivering warrior. It was not just the kits who might freeze out here. Perhaps Sandstorm was right. "I agree," he meowed. "We can't do this by ourselves." As they turned towards camp, Fireheart thought he heard a tiny squeal through the wind. "Did you hear that?" he called. Sandstorm stopped and began sniffing the air furiously. Suddenly, she lifted her head. "That way!" she meowed, pointing with her nose to a fallen tree. Fireheart leaped towards it with Sandstorm right behind him. The squealing grew louder until Fireheart could make out several little voices. He scrambled up onto the log and looked down the other side. Huddled in the snow were two small kits. Fireheart felt a rush of relief until he realized Cloud Kit was not with them. "Where's Cloud Kit?" he yelled. "Hunting!" squeaked one of the kits. Her voice trembled with cold and fear, but there was a note of defiance in it. Fireheart lifted his head. "Cloud Kit!" he called, peering through the snowflakes. "Fireheart, look!" Sandstorm was on top of the log. Fireheart spun around. A bedraggled white shape was struggling through the snow towards them. Cloud Kit! Every step was a massive leap for the tiny kit. The snow was as high as he was. But he was coming, and in his mouth, he carried a small, snow-encrusted bowl. A surge of relief and fury shot through Fireheart. He left Sandstorm with the others and bounded through the snow to scoop up the kit by the scruff of his neck. Cloud Kit grunted in protest, but refused to drop the bowl that dangled from his mouth. Fireheart turned to see Sandstorm nudging the others towards him. They stumbled ahead of her, sinking up in their ears in the deep snow, but she kept pushing them on. Cloud Kit squirmed in Fireheart's mouth. Fireheart dropped him back into the snow. Cloud Kit looked up at him, proudly holding his catch. Fireheart couldn't help feeling impressed. In spite of the snow and wind, Cloud Kit had caught his first prey. "Wait there," he ordered, and dashed back to help Sandstorm. He picked up a tiny she-kit who was mewing pitifully and began nosing the other one forward. The bedraggled group struggled back to the camp. Brindleface was waiting outside the gorse tunnel. Blue Star stood beside her. Her eyes narrowed against the driving snow. As soon as they spotted Fireheart's party, they rushed forward to help. Blue Star scooped up Cloud Kit, and Brindleface grabbed the other kit. Then they turned and raced into the shelter of the camp with Fireheart and Sandstorm hurrying behind. Once in the clearing, the three cats dropped their frozen bundles onto the ground. Fireheart shook the snow from his fur and looked down at Cloud Kit, who was still stubbornly clinging to his catch. Blue Star glared at the three kits. "What did you think you were doing out there? You know it's against the warrior code for kits to hunt." Brindleface's two kits shrank under their leader's angry gaze, but Cloud Kit looked back at her with round blue eyes. He dropped his bowl and meowed, "The clan needed fresh kill so we decided to catch some. Fireheart flinched at his boldness. Whose idea was this? Bluestar demanded. Mine, Cloud Kit announced, his head still unbowed. Bluestar fixed her eyes on the defiant little kit and then yowled. You could have frozen to death out there! Cloud Kit was startled by the anger in her voice and dropped into a crouch. We did it for the clan, he meowed defensively. Fireheart held his breath as he waited to see what Bluestar would do next. Cloud Kit had broken the warrior code. Would Bluestar change her mind about letting him stay? Your intention, Bluestar meowed slowly, was good, but it was a foolish thing to do. Fireheart felt a flicker of hope. Then he cringed as Cloud Kit piped up again. I caught something, though. I can see that, Bluestar replied coldly. She gazed at all three kids. I shall leave it to your mother to decide what to do with you, but I don't want to find you doing anything like this again. Do you understand? Fireheart relaxed a little as Cloud Kit nodded with the others. Cloud Kit, you may add your catch to the fresh kill pile, Bluestar added. Then all three of you go straight to the nursery and get yourselves dry and warm. Fireheart felt surprised. Was that a motherly tone he detected in ThunderClan's leader voice? Brindleface's kids stumbled towards the nursery, followed by their mother, while Cloud Kit picked up his bowl and trotted up towards the pile of fresh kill. The proud tilt of his head made Fireheart's paws prickle with worry. But as Bluestar watched him go, Fireheart thought he detected a glint of admiration in his leader's eyes. Well done, you two, she meowed, turning her attention to Sandstorm and Fireheart. I'll send Longtail out to retrieve the other search party. You should go to your den and try to warm up too. Yes, Bluestar, Fireheart answered. He turned to leave with Sandstorm, but Bluestar called him back. Fireheart, she meowed, I want to talk to you. Her tone made Fireheart feel apprehensive. Perhaps he relaxed too soon. Cloud Kit showed some fine hunting skills today, Bluestar began, but all the skill in the world is worthless if he can't learn to obey the warrior code. It may be for his own safety now, but in the future, the safety of the whole clan will depend on it. Fireheart stared down at the ground. He knew Bluestar was right, but he couldn't help feeling that she was expecting too much of such a young kid. Cloud Kit was still very young, and he'd been with the clan for only a short time. Fireheart swallowed a pang of resentment as he thought of how shamelessly Gray Stripe, a clan-born cat, was disobeying the warrior code. He looked up at the clan leader. Yes, Bluestar, he meowed. I'll make sure he learns. Good. Bluestar sounded satisfied. She turned away and padded to her den. Fireheart made his way to the warrior's den. Even though he no longer felt cold, Bluestar's words had made him burn. He pushed his way inside, settled into his nest, and began to wash. He stayed in his nest all afternoon, brooding about Gray Stripe and Cloud Kit. He knew that Bluestar was right. The pride and defiance he had seen in the white kit's eyes made Fireheart wonder if he really would be able to adjust to clan life. As evening came, hunger drew Fireheart from the den. He picked a thrush from the pile of fresh kill and settled down by the nettle clump to eat it. It was dark now, and the snow had eased. Once his eyes had adjusted to the night, Fireheart could see the camp entrance clearly. He spotted Gray Stripe as soon as he appeared, and watched him walk to the pile of fresh kill. The Gray Warrior was carrying prey. Perhaps he'd just been hunting after all. Gray Stripe dropped most of his catch into the pile. He kept a large mouse for himself and took it to a sheltered spot near the camp wall. Fireheart's brief hope faded. The distracted look in Gray Stripe's eyes told him that his suspicions were right. Gray Stripe had been with Silverstream. Fireheart got to his paws and padded into the den. He had no trouble falling into a deep sleep, and as he slept, He dreamed again. The snowy forest spread out around him, glowing white beneath the cold moon. Fireheart stood on a tall, jagged rock. Beside him stood Cloud Kit, a fully grown warrior, his thick white pelt rippling in the wind. Frost sparkled on the stone beneath their paws. "Watch!" Fireheart hissed to Cloud Kit. A wood mouse scuttled around the frozen roots of a tree. Cloud Kit followed his gaze and leaped silently from the rock onto the forest floor. Fireheart watched the white Tom prowl towards the prey. Suddenly, he smelled a scent so warm and familiar, his fur quivered. He felt a warm breath on his ear and turned sharply. Spotted Leaf was standing beside him. Her dappled pelt shone in the moonlight as she touched her soft pink nose to his. "Fireheart," she whispered, "I have a warning from you, for you from StarClan." Her tone was somber, and her eyes burned into his. "A battle is coming, Fireheart. Beware, warrior you cannot trust." The squeal of a mouse made Fireheart jump and look around. Cloud Kit must have made his kill. He turned back to Spotted Leaf, but she disappeared. Fireheart woke with a start and turned to the nest beside him. Graystripe was curled up, fast asleep, his nose tucked under his thick tail. Spotted Leaf's words echoed in Fireheart's mind. "Beware a warrior you cannot trust." He shivered. The bitter cold of the forest seemed to cling to his fur even here, and the sweet fragrances of Spotted Leaf lingered in his nostrils. Graystripe stirred beside him, muttering in his sleep. Fireheart flinched. He knew he wouldn't go back to sleep again, but he stayed in his nest and watched his friend sleeping until the dawn light began to shine through the walls of the den. Chapter 29. As the den grew lighter, Willowpelt woke up. Fireheart watched as she rose, stretched, then pushed her way out of the den. He gave a last glance at Graystripe's sleeping form, followed her. "It stopped snowing," he meowed, desperate to break the ghostly silence that enfolded the snowbound camp. His voice echoed around the clearing, and Willowpelt nodded. A rustling noise accompanied the scent of Tiger Claw and Running Wind as they emerged from the den. They settled themselves beside Willowpelt to wash. Ready for the dawn patrol, Fireheart thought. He wondered if he should offer to join them, since he could do with a run through the woods, but part of him wanted to stay behind and keep an eye on Graystripe. Spotted Leaf's words still lay heavy in his heart. He couldn't shake off the idea that Graystripe was the warrior that he couldn't trust. Graystripe insisted his relationship with Silverstream didn't change his loyalty to the clan, but how could it not? He was breaking the warrior code just by seeing her. Suddenly, Tiger Claw lifted his head as though he had smelled something. Fireheart tensed. His ears twitched. He could hear paws crunching through the snow in the distance, moving fast. A breeze carried the scent of WindClan. The paw steps grew louder. As one, the warrior stiffened. A cat was rushing towards them, through the gorse tunnel. Tiger Claw arched his back and hissed as one whisker burst into the clearing. The WindClan warrior skidded into a halt in front of them, his eyes filled with dread. "Shadow Clan and River Clan!" he gasped. "They're both attacking our camp! We're outnumbered and fighting for our lives! Tallstar refuses to be driven off this time! You must help or my clan will be wiped out!" Bluestar bounded out of her den. All eyes turned from One Whisker to her. "I heard," she meowed, and without hesitating, and without a moment, she leapt on the high rock. The ThunderClan leader gave the yowl she used to call the clan together. One Whisker's fierce scent filled the clearing as he watched the cats emerge in the morning light. As soon as the clan had gathered, Bluestar began. "There is no time to waste. It's as we feared. Shadow Clan and River Clan are joined together, and now they're attacking the Wind Clan camp. We must help them now." She paused and looked around at the faces staring back at her in dismay. One Whisker stood beside her, listening silently with wide, hopeful eyes. Fireheart was appalled. After the rogue cats has been discovered, he thought Nightstar could be trusted. Now, It seemed the Shadow Clan leader broken the warrior code after all by uniting with River Clan to drive Wind Clan from their home yet again. "But we are Leaf Bear Week," protested Patchpelt. "We've taken a risk for Wind Clan once before. Let them take care of themselves this time." A few murmurs of agreement rose from the elders and queens. It was Tiger Claw who answered him, stepping forward to stand beside Bluestar. "You're right to be cautious, Patchpelt. But if Shadow Clan and River Clan have united, it is only a matter of time before they turn on us. It's better we fight now with Wind Clan than later alone." Bluestar looked at Patchpelt, who closed his eyes and lifted his tail, accepting Tiger Claw's words. Yellowfang pushed her way forward and spoke quietly to the leader. "I think you should remain behind in camp, Bluestar. The people from the Green Craft may have gone, but you'll still be weak." The two cats exchanged a look that Fireheart understood with a jolt. Bluestar was on her 9th and final life. For the sake of the clan, she could not afford to risk it in battle. Bluestar nodded briskly. "Tiger Claw, I want you to organize 2 parties. One to head the attack, one to back it up. We need to get there as fast as we can." "Yes, Bluestar." Tiger Claw turned to the warriors. "Whitestorm, you'll head the second party. I'll head the first. I'll take Darkstripe, Mousefur, Longtail, Dustpelt. Fireheart." Fireheart lifted his head as Tiger Claw called his name, feeling a thrill run through him. He was to join the lead party. "You!" Tiger Claw called to Windwhisker. "What's your name?" The Wind Clan warrior looked startled by Tiger Claw's tone. Fireheart answered for him. "Windwhisker," he meowed. Tiger Claw nodded, barely pausing to look at Fireheart. "Windwhisker, you'll be in my party. The rest of the ThunderClan warriors will join Whitestorm. You too, Brackenpaw." "Are we all ready?" called Tiger Claw. The warriors raised their heads and let out a battle cry. Tiger Claw charged for the gorse tunnel, and they raced after him. Up the ravine they climbed into the forest. They were heading for Fortress and the uplands beyond. Fireheart glanced over his shoulder as he ran through the trees. Graystripe was near the back, his face grim, his eyes staring blankly ahead. Fireheart wondered if Silverstream would be at the battle. Fireheart felt a pang of sorrow for his friend, but this time he had no doubts about his own readiness to fight. After bringing Wind Clan home, he couldn't help feeling responsible for them. He would not let any clan drive them back to those Thunderpath tunnels. Spotted Leaf's fragrance filled his nostrils once more, and Fireheart's fur prickled. "Beware a warrior you cannot trust!" This was going to be a difficult battle in more ways than one. Graystripe would have no choice about proving his loyalty now. Even though the snow had stopped falling, it was hard work getting through the drifts. An icy crust had formed over the top of the snow, but the warriors were heavy enough to break through and sink into the softer snow underneath. "Tiger Claw!" Willowpelt's yowl sounded from the rear. The deputy halted and turned. "We're being followed!" Willowpelt called. Her words sent a quiver of alarm through Fireheart. Had they run into a trap? Quietly, the patrol retraced their paw steps, alert and suspicious. A snow-laden branch creaked above, making Brackenpaw jump. "Wait!" hissed Tiger Claw. The cats crouched in the deep snow. Fireheart could hear the noise of paw steps heading towards them. They sounded light, like small paws stepping delicately over the top of an ice crust. With a sinking heart, Fireheart guessed who it was. A heartbeat before Cloud Kit and Brindleface's 2 kids appeared from behind a log. Tiger Claw reared up at them, and the kids squealed in fright. The warrior recognized them instantly and dropped down onto all 4 paws. "What are you doing here?" he spat. "We wanted to join the battle," meowed Cloud Kit. Fireheart winced. "Fireheart!" called Tiger Claw. Fireheart hurried forward, and the Dark Warrior spat impatiently. "You brought this kit into the clan. You deal with it." Fireheart looked into Tiger Claw's blazing eyes. He knew that the deputy was trying to force him to choose. Fireheart could either join the battle party and fight for the clan, take care of his kitty pet kin. The whole patrol waited in silence for Fireheart to speak. Fireheart knew he would choose to fight for the clan, but he couldn't sacrifice his sister's kit. Cloud Kit and the others must be taken home safely by another cat. But which warrior could the raiding party do without? Breckapaw, Fireheart called to Graystripe's apprentice. Please take these kids home. Fireheart waited for Graystripe to object, but the Gray Warrior remained silent as Fireheart ordered his apprentice back to camp. Breckapaw's tail drooped. Fireheart felt a stab of guilt. There will be plenty more battles for you to fight, he promised. But Fireheart, you said one day we'd fight side by side. Cloud Kit's protests rang through the trees. Tiger Claw shot Fireheart a mocking look. Fireheart felt his fur prickle uncomfortably as amusement rippled through the patrol at the tiny kit's words, but he refused to show his embarrassment. One day we will, he meowed, but not today. The white kit's shoulders sagged, and Fireheart let out a sigh of relief as he watched Cloud Kit reluctantly join the other kits following Brackenpaw back to camp. I'm surprised by your choice, Fireheart, Tiger Claw sneered. I didn't expect you to be so keen to fight this battle. Fireheart stared at Tiger Claw and felt the blood pulse through him, so that his whole body throbbed with rage. If only you were keen too, he retorted. You'd give the battle cry instead of keeping us here while Winds Clan warriors die. Tiger Claw flashed him a look of loathing, threw back his head, and yowled to the sky before charging on towards Wind Clan camp. Fireheart and the others raced after him, past forest trees to the steep slope that led to the uplands. They bounded up, their paws made noiseless by the snow. When they reached the top, Fireheart was battered by a howling wind that turned his ears inside out. The Winds Clan hunting grounds looked even more barren than ever, the gorse hidden by a layer of snow. Fireheart, you know the way to the Winds Clan camp. Lead us there. He slowed to let Fireheart pass. Fireheart wondered if the deputy didn't trust One Whisker enough to let the Wind Clan warrior guide them. He looked back at Graystripe, hoping for some help, but the Gray Warrior had his head bowed low and his shoulders hunched miserably as the wind buffeted his thick fur. There will be little help there. Fireheart turned his eyes to StarClan, sent up a prayer for guidance, and he was surprised to find that he recognized the shape of the land, even beneath the snow. There was the badger set, and the rock Graystripe had climbed to get a better view. He followed the contours he remembered from his journey with Graystripe until he reached the dip in the land that marked the Wind Clan camp. Fireheart paused at the rim of the hollow. Down there! For a heartbeat, the wind dropped. From below, they heard the sounds of battle, screams and howls as cat furiously fought with cat. Chapter 30. Tiger Claw addressed the warriors in a fierce hiss. They carried through the blizzard. White Storm, wait until you hear my battle cry. One Whisker, you lead us through the camp entrance. We'll take care of the rest. One Whisker began to race down the slope towards the snow-covered bushes. Tiger Claw thundered after him, Darkstripe at his heels. Fireheart charged behind the sleek gray tabby through the narrow tunnel that led into the Wind Clan camp. The gorse was as dense and sharp as he remembered. Graystripe and the other warriors stayed at the top of the slope, a fresh wave of attack, ready to strike after the initial barrage. Fireheart skidded to a halt, reeling at the sight that greeted him in the camp clearing. Last time he'd been here in search of the scent trail that would lead them to the missing clan, the place had been deserted and silent, but now the clearing swarmed with writhing, screeching, fighting cats. One Whisker had been right. Wind Clan cats were hopelessly outnumbered. A fresh party of Shadow Clan River Clan warriors waited at the edge of the clearing, but Wind Clan could spare no backup group. The whole clan was fighting. Apprentices, elders, warriors, and queens. Fireheart spotted Morning Flower wrestling with a Shadow Clan warrior. The Wind Clan queen looked exhausted, frightened, her fur standing in ragged clumps. Still, she nimbly turned and scratched her attacker, but he was much bigger and knocked her easily to the ground with a heavy blow. With a howl, Fireheart leaped and landed squarely on the shoulders of the Shadow Clan Tom. He clung on while the surprised warrior spun and tried to shake him loose. Morning Flower raked the Tom with her claws as Fireheart dragged him to the ground. The ShadowClan warrior screeched and ripped himself free. He ran into the prickly camp wall and pushed his way through. Morning Flower shot a grateful glance at Fireheart and turned back to the battle. Fireheart looked around, shaking drops of blood from his nose. The fresh patrols of ShadowClan and RiverClan cats had joined the fight now. ThunderClan's arrival had evened the numbers for a while, but now the second party was needed. Fireheart heard TigerClaw's battle cry ring out, and a moment later, White Storm exploded into the clearing, followed by Graystripe, Running Wind, and the rest of the ThunderClan warriors. Fireheart grabbed a RiverClan warrior, tripped him with one paw, and held him down with the other. He rolled the Tom over and thrashed at his belly with his hind claws. The RiverClan cat leapt away and crashed into a WindClan warrior. The warrior turned in surprise. Fireheart recognized One Whisker straight away and watched as he reared and attacked the RiverClan Tom without a moment's pause. Fireheart could see the fire in One Whisker's eyes. He could leave him to finish this fight. A familiar hiss caught Fireheart's attention. Graystripe was battling with the gray ShadowClan cat. It was Wetfoot, a warrior who had helped them fight to get rid of ShadowClan's Broken Star. The two warriors were well matched. Graystripe thrust Wetfoot away with his back legs and spun around looking for another cat to attack. Fireheart could see a RiverClan cat right behind Graystripe. Above the din of battle, he heard the blood roar in his ears. Would Graystripe attack one of Silverstream's fellow warriors? Graystripe leaped. Fireheart held his breath, but instead of jumping onto the RiverClan cat, Graystripe sailed over him and landed instead on the back of another ShadowClan warrior. Fireheart heard TigerClaw call his name. He twisted his head and saw the warrior at the other end of the clearing. The fighting was thick up there, with cats from all clans battling together. As he charged through the ThunderClan to the ThunderClan deputy, Fireheart felt Leopardfur grasp his hind leg, pulling him down. "You!" hissed the RiverClan deputy. They had last met at the gorge where Whiteclaw died. Fireheart threw her off and flipped over onto his back. Too late, he realized that he exposed his soft belly. Leopardfur didn't waste a moment. She reared up and came down on Fireheart with all her might. Fireheart felt the wind knocked out of him before the thorn-sharp claws dug into his belly. He screamed in agony. As his eyes rolled, he saw TigerClaw at the side of the clearing, watching him with cold, expressionless eyes. "TigerClaw!" Fireheart howled. "Help me!" But TigerClaw didn't move. He just stared as Leopardfur's clawed Fireheart again and again. Sheer rage gave Fireheart the strength he needed. He fought through the pain, drew back his hind legs, and pushed up against Leopardfur's belly as hard as he could. Fireheart saw a look of shock on the deputy's face as this kick lifted the warrior and flung her halfway across the clearing. Fireheart struggled to his paws and glared at TigerClaw, burning with pain and rage. TigerClaw met his gaze with a look of undisguised hatred and leapt away into the thick of the battle. A blow at the back of his head knocked Fireheart off balance. He staggered and turned to see Stonefur. The RiverClan warrior was preparing to aim another swipe. Fireheart ducked out of the way and shoved Stonefur straight into White Storm. The ThunderClan cat whipped around and grasped Stonefur by the scruff of his neck. Fireheart tried to dart forward and help the Whitebird warrior, but claws held him back. Digging into his haunches, he twisted to see who it was and glimpsed gray fur. It was Silverstream. The she-cat's face was twisted with battle rage as she reared up at him. Blood was dripping into her eyes, and Fireheart could tell that she hadn't recognized him. She drew back a paw, and he saw her long claws flash as she prepared to swipe him. As Fireheart screwed up his eyes, bracing himself for the blow, he heard an achingly familiar yowl. "Silverstream, no!" "Graystripe," thought Fireheart. Silverstream hesitated, shook her head, recognized Fireheart with a muted gasp. She dropped back down to all four paws, her eyes wide, with shock. Fireheart reacted instinctively, his blood aflame with battle. Without thinking, he leaped onto the back of the RiverClan she-cat and pinned her to the ground. She didn't struggle as he drew back his head and prepared to give her a vicious bite on her shoulder. But as Fireheart raised his head, he felt Greystripe's eyes boring into him. The Grey Warrior was watching in horror from the edge of the battle. The look of pain and disbelief in his friend's eyes brought Fireheart to his senses. He stopped, unsheathed his claws, and loosened his grip on Silverstream. The she-cat slipped away from him and disappeared into the surrounding gorse. Fireheart stared, still in shock, as Greystripe raced after her. Fireheart felt as if he were still being watched. He looked around and his eyes met Darkstripe's on the other side of the clearing. Fireheart flinched. Greystripe's affair had forced him into disloyalty into ThunderClan after all. He had let an enemy warrior go! How much had Darkstripe seen? Just then, Fireheart heard Running Wind yell for help. The Tabby warrior was grappling desperately with Nightstar. ShadowClan's treacherous leader, Fireheart darted through the throng to Running Wind's side. Without pausing to think, Fireheart leaped, grabbing Nightstar from behind. The Black Warrior howled in rage as Fireheart pulled him backwards and sank his claws deep into Nightstar's fur. He had fought side by side with this warrior only a few moons ago to help him drive out Brokenstar. But now, he sank his teeth deep into Nightstar's shoulder with the same ferocity he used against the former ShadowClan leader. Nightstar squealed and twisted in Fireheart's grip. This Tom had not been made leader for nothing, thought Fireheart, struggling to hang on. Nightstar scrabbled free, but Running Wind was ready. He pounced, and together the two warriors rolled across the frozen clearing. Fireheart watched them struggle and twist, timing his moment perfectly so that when he finally leaped, he landed squarely on Nightstar's back. He grasped him more firmly this time, ready for the warrior to wriggle free, but Running Wind also had a grip. Together, they scratched and bit the ShadowClan leader until he screeched out loud. Then they released him, springing backwards with their claws still unsheathed. Nightstar leaped to his paws and spun around, hissing. Fireheart saw the fury in his eyes, but the ShadowClan leader knew he had been beaten. He backed away, his eyes darting around the clearing where his warriors were suffering similar treatment from the other ThunderClan warriors. He gave the yowl of retreat. Instantly, his warriors stopped fighting, and like their leader, backed into the gorse that surrounded the camp. The RiverClan warriors were left alone to fend off ThunderClan and WindClan. Fireheart paused to catch his breath, blinking blood from his eyes. Whitestorm was grappling with Leopard Fur now, with Mouse Fur at his side. Sandstorm was battling with the RiverClan warrior almost twice her size, but her opponent was only half her speed. Fireheart watched Sandstorm nip and twist around him until the RiverClan warrior looked overwhelmed. Dustpat was fighting a smoky black Tom nearby. Fireheart recognized Black Claw, the RiverClan warrior he had seen chasing rabbits on the upland. Dustpat was stubbornly refusing to be cowed by the blows and bites aimed at him. Each time he was struck, the young warrior turned and gave as good as he got. It looked as if he didn't need any help, and Fireheart guessed Dustpat would not thank him for interrupting in this fight. But where was Crooked-Star? Fireheart searched the clearing for the RiverClan leader. It wasn't hard to find him. Now that ShadowClan had run away, the clearing was less crowded. Fireheart soon spotted the light-colored tabby with the twisted jaw. He was crouching low, face to face with Tiger Claw. The two warriors stared at each other, their tails thrashing menacingly. Fireheart's blood pounded through his veins as he waited for one of them to make a move. It was Crooked-Star who leapt first, but Tiger Claw jumped nimbly aside and Crooked-Star missed. Tiger Claw was more accurate. He turned and lunged at Crooked-Star's back. The ThunderClan warrior grasped the RiverClan leader with his long claws. Crooked-Star went limp beneath them. Fireheart watched breathlessly as Tiger Claw bared his teeth, lunged forward, and sank them deep into Crooked-Star's neck. Fireheart gasped. Had Tiger Claw really killed the RiverClan leader? Crooked-Star's pained screech told Fireheart that Tiger Claw missed the spine, but it was a blow to win the battle. Tiger Claw released his opponent and let him race, yowling towards the camp entrance. As soon as Crooked-Star's tail shot out of sight, his warriors struggled free and pelted after him. In a heartbeat, the WindClan camp fell silent, apart from the howling of the wind above the gorse. Fireheart stared around him. ThunderClan warriors were tired and battered, but the WindClan cats looked far worse. Every one of them were bleeding, while some lay unmoving on the frozen ground. Barkface, their medicine cat, wasted no time in rushing from one cat to another, attending to their injuries. Tallstar limped towards Tigerclaw, blood dripping from his cheek. As he watched the WindClan leader, Fireheart remembered his dream from moons ago. Tallstar had been silhouetted against a bright fire, like a warrior sent from StarClan to save them. Fire will save the clan, according to Spiderleaf's prophecy. But looking at the WindClan cats, exhausted and beaten, Fireheart wondered if his dream had misled him. How could these cats represent the fire that StarClan promised would save his clan? Surely it was ThunderClan who had just saved WindClan again. Tallstar spoke quietly to Tigerclaw. Fireheart couldn't hear the words they shared, but he could guess by Tallstar's bowed head that the WindClan leader was acknowledging the debt he owed to ThunderClan. Tigerclaw sat up straight and accepted the thanks with his chin held high. Fireheart felt a wave of revulsion at the Dark Warrior's arrogance. He would never forget that Tigerclaw stood by and watched while Leopard Fur had nearly ripped him to shreds. Here. Fireheart was shaken from his thoughts by the soft voice of Willowpelt, offering him a mouthful of the medicine cat's herbs. Fireheart purred his thanks as Willowpelt began squeezing juice from the herbs into the bite marks on Fireheart's shoulders. It stung, but the smell took him straight back to another time with Spotted Leaf. She had given him the same herb to treat Yellowfangs so many moons ago. As the odor of the herbs wafted up, Fireheart remembered his dream from the night before. Beware, warrior. Spotted Leaf had warned him. Beware, warrior? The truth washed over Fireheart like a chill wind. It wasn't Graystripe he should have been wary of. Tigerclaw. How could he suspected his friend? But he knew what Tigerclaw was capable of. Suddenly, Fireheart was sure Ravenpaw had been telling the truth. Whatever Bluestar had said, seeing the Dark Warrior's performance today, Fireheart realized that Tigerclaw could easily have killed Redtail and walked away without remorse. You're a fine warrior. StarClan will honor you for this, Willowpelt said. Fireheart looked, his ears twitching with pleasure. It was a relief to feel a part of the clan again. Suddenly, his fur prickled. Darkstripe was stalking across the clearing towards Tigerclaw. He sat down behind Tallstar and waited until the WindClan leader walked away. Then he leaned forward and whispered urgently into Tigerclaw's ear. The two warriors kept glancing at Fireheart. He saw, thought Fireheart, feeling dizzy with horror. He saw me let Silverstream go. Are you okay? Asked Willowpelt. Fireheart realized he shivered. Yes, sorry, just thinking. Tigerclaw was stalking towards him, his eyes shining with spiteful satisfaction. Well, if you're sure, I'll go and see some of the others, meowed Willowpelt. Yes, fine, thanks. Willowpelt picked up her herbs and patted away, Running Wind following her. Tigerclaw flattened his ears and drew back his lips into a snarl as he looked down at Fireheart. Darkstripe says you let a RiverClan she-cat escape. Fireheart realized there was nothing he could say. No matter how difficult Graystripe had made things for him, there was no way he was going to betray his friend to this warrior. He longed to yell back that Tigerclaw stood and watched while a RiverClan warrior tried to kill him. But who would believe him? Darkstripe padded up to stand beside Tigerclaw. Fireheart longed for the wisdom and fairness of Bluestar, but she was far away, back at ThunderClan camp. He took a deep breath, preparing to speak as Tigerclaw stared menacingly down on him. Then it dawned on Fireheart that any disloyalty he had shown on Graystripe's behalf meant nothing to this great warrior. That wasn't the real reason for Tigerclaw's persecution of him. The deputy was still afraid of what Fireheart might have learned from Ravenpaw about Redtail's death all those moons ago. But, unlike Ravenpaw, Fireheart wasn't going to give in fear. His eyes challenged the Dark Deputy and growled, She escaped, yes, like Crookestar escaped from you. Why? Did you want me to kill her? Tiger Claw's tail lashed the cold ground. Darkstripe says you did it, even scratch her. Fireheart shrugged. Perhaps Darkstripe should chase after the she-cat and ask her if it's true. Darkstripe looked ready to spit, but he remained silent as Tiger Claw spoke. He doesn't need to. Darkstripe tells me your young gray friend chased after her. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us how badly she was scratched. For the first time since they entered the battle, Fireheart felt the chill of the wind. The gleam in Tiger Claw's eyes hinted at a veiled threat. As he guessed, Fireheart was still searching for words when Graystripe appeared, squeezing through the camp entrance. Look who's back! Sneered Tiger Claw. Do you want to ask him now how the she-cat is? No, wait, I can guess his answer. He'll just tell me he didn't manage to catch up with her. Not bothering to disguise the scorn in his eyes, Tiger Claw stalked away, Darkstripe behind him. Graystripe, his friend's face was lined with exhaustion and worry. Fireheart padded across the clearing to meet him. Would he be angry that Fireheart had tried to attack Silverstream, or grateful that he let her go? Graystripe stood silently. He said nothing, and Fireheart felt Graystripe's rumbling purr slowly. Fireheart reached forward with his nose and gently touched his friend's cold gray flank. He felt Graystripe's rumbling purr and looked up. Is she okay? Fireheart asked under his breath. Yes, whispered Graystripe. Thanks for letting her go. Fireheart blinked at him. I'm glad she wasn't hurt. He meowed. Graystripe held his gaze for a moment, then meowed. Fireheart, you were right. The battle wasn't easy. It felt like I was fighting Silverstream's clanmates, not enemy warriors. He lowered his eyes ashamed. But I still can't give her up. The Grey Warrior's words filled Fireheart with foreboding, but he couldn't help sympathizing with his friends. This is something you're gonna have to work out yourself then, he meowed. Not my place to judge you. Graystripe looked up as Fireheart went on. Graystripe, whatever you decide to do, I'll always be your friend. Graystripe stared at him, his eyes clouded with relief and gratitude. But then, without speaking, the two warriors lay down side to side in the unfamiliar clearing for the first time in moons. Their furs pressed together in friendship. Above them, the snow-heavy gorse offered them a brief shelter from the storm that raged over their heads. And that is it. That's the end. Oh, yeah. That was a long reading, but the next video, I will start the third book because I do happen to have that. Alright, so that was quite a battle, and quite a few things happened. We probably could have guessed. So, Fireheart is getting dreams. This seems to be kind of a regular thing now. And they seem to be something you should take seriously. He got the warning to not trust the warrior. And we all knew Tiger Claw was kind of fishy. Well, that settles it. Tiger Claw is officially, there's no denying it, there's no talking around it, sugarcoating it, there's no going around it. Fireheart has realized that Tiger Claw is an extremely dangerous cat, and is also in a very dangerous position being deputy. And Blue Star being on her last life? Oh my gosh, what kind of leader would Tiger Claw be? Can you imagine what kind of leader he'd be? Do you think he'd be? Do you think Tiger Claw would be a good leader? I mean, maybe he could grow into his role, I guess. I don't know. Of course, we all thought that about other individuals in real life, too. But anyway. And yeah, Graystripe, unfortunately, he still loves Silverstream. Something must be happening behind the scenes that ThunderClan doesn't know. RiverClan is starving, it seems. What about ShadowClan? There must be something happening that's making these two clans this desperate. But the main story is essentially told from Fireheart's point of view, from ThunderClan's view. There are other books, actually. There is a book about Crooked Star, the leader of River Clan. There is a book about Yellowfang, actually. How she became Medicine Cat. Her becoming a warrior and then becoming a Medicine Cat. There's even a book about Blue Star herself. Multiple cats actually have their own books in this series. They're not as long as like the official books. They're much shorter books. I don't have any physical copies of them, of the shorter books, unfortunately. And we're not delving into the sides books yet. We're focusing on the main series. So, the next book, it appears. So let's see, it says Into the Wild, that was one. Book 3 is Forest of Secrets. So the next video, we'll be starting Forest of Secrets. Be safe out there. I hope you have a wonderful day. I apologize, this took a little bit of time. This is also a long video too, so yeah. Have a good day. Bye.